parts of DECA competitions is you never know quite what the venue will be like. I've shown up to independent gyms, other F45 studios other than my own that I train at, but today was at the Mesquite, Texas Convention Center. Can I get a yeehaw? This was actually a strength expo, so there was a powerlifting meet, as well as a strongman games, which was really cool to witness, in addition to the DEKA Mile. So what is a DEKA competition? DEKA is under the Spartan umbrella. If you're familiar with DEKA races, you know that they like their trifectas. So there's a DEKA Strong, which is 10 functional fitness zones. Then there's a DEKA Mile, which is the same 10 zones with a 160-meter run before each one, resulting in a mile ran at the end. And finally, a DEKA Fit, also the same 10 zones, but a 500-meter run before each, resulting in a 5K ran. They're basically smaller iterations of the HYROX competition that I'm training for. Let's call them dress rehearsals. As a reminder, HYROX is going to be 8 functional fitness stations with 1 kilometer run before each one, resulting in a 5-mile run. So I have 2 DEKA Strongs under my belt already. This was the first time I was doing the DEKA Mile and incorporating running into the mix. I actually found that the DEKA Mile seemed a little less intense than the Strong because it wasn't zone after zone. I got a running breather, but what that is telling me, and what you've probably already been thinking in your head, is that means that I can and I should be running way harder and way faster. My time ended up being 28:44. The results haven't been uploaded on the website yet, so I don't know how I stacked up with everyone. I will keep you updated on my weekly blogs, but I thought that I would walk through the race footage and give you some commentary. My overall strategy for this race was really just to test out the running portion and pace myself. I was really unsure of how it was gonna go, and I really didn't want to go too hard because I didn't want a situation where I felt like I needed to stop or I needed to walk, because I wanted to number one, not have a mental block for any races in the future and be like, oh crap, I hope I don't have to stop, I hope I don't have to walk. I wanted to know that I can do it. At the end of the day, I can. And that way I know how hard and that I can push harder and it will be okay. 2, I also had some F45 members there. One of them was filming me, and they did the team race together afterwards. And I really just always like to be a good example as a coach when I have members there, and I didn't want a bad situation. I wanted to be able to, again, everything goes smoothly and I finish. I'm gonna show you clips of me, and then if there's extra time in my explanations, I'll throw in clips of my members who were doing a team race. And in case you would like to do a team race in a DEKA, just know that both of you have to run the first laps or lap and the last laps or lap. And other than that, it seems like you can split the running and the stations however you'd like. So there are my members over there. So we're gonna start with 2 laps. They're gonna do the team event. I just did it with just myself, but you're gonna start with 2 laps around the cones. And then you're going to start off, you're gonna do 30 reverse lunges with the ram, 2 more laps, 500 meters on the rower, 2 more laps. Then we have 20 box jumps, 2 laps. We have 25 weighted sit-ups, 2 laps, 500 meters on the ski erg, 2 laps. Then we have 100 meters with the farmer's carry, 2 laps. And then we have the dreaded air bike over there, 25 calories, then 2 laps. Then we have 20 dead ball over the shoulders, 2 more laps. And then way over there we have a sled push and pull for 100 meters. 2 more laps, and then it brings you all the way around here, and then you do 20 burpees with the ram. I was actually really impressed with my running pace when I watched the footage back, because I was intentionally, being slow and controlled. So when I saw my first lap, I was like, ooh. Well, actually first 2 laps, but yeah, I was going a little faster than it felt like I was going. It felt like I was going at snail's pace. But yeah, all that was running through my mind in the first 2 laps is like, okay, control your pace, breathe in your nose, out your mouth, just get your breath right. Like, I think that that's what I was thinking on most of the runs, is just like, now is your time to catch your breath. When we got to the first station, it was a little annoying because she told me that I went to a station that had been set up for a man, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I wish she would have like flagged me down proactively, just because, you know, every second counts. And so I did take that time to go to the man's wait, and then I had to be redirected. Also, another note that is just something to be mindful of, because I didn't think about it until this competition, because my other Deca Strongs were on a more padded floor, and so this one was on a hard floor with a really, really thin mat. So normally to get your speed up, you're just cranking it out, you're kind of slamming your knees. And on this one I had to be more controlled because I didn't want to, you know, do anything to my knees. So that was just something to think of and practice maybe for next time, is, you know, if I can't just absolutely slam my knees down. I was pretty happy with my row erg. I really was just watching the pace on the camera. You'll see that I look away. That's kind of like my coping mechanism when I'm in pain. I'll just kind of either close my eyes or look away and just like let some time pass and hope that more time than I feel like has passed actually passes. But like I said, I was just looking at my pace, trying to keep it under 2:30. I will say that, so you are allowed to change your damper in both the Decas and also HYROX, but then you can't change it after you set it. This was the lowest damper. So the first time I did a Deca Strong, they let us walk the course and put all our dampers and our bike seat in place, which was great because, you know, for optimal timing, that's ideal. But if they have people going back to back, you can't always do that. So normally I have my damper up all the way, or maybe at an 8 at the lowest, but I think I did notice that the dampers on both erg machines this day were at about a 6. I just didn't want to take the time to change it. Here I am running again. You can see my pace. It's definitely slower than the first 2 laps, right? But you know, I think I kept a fairly consistent pace, as you'll see in the later laps. Oh, these box jumps. I think it's a little silly that both feet have to touch the ground on each side, but I get it as far as like measuring if people are doing it equally. I've definitely gotten faster at these. I felt like this was perhaps my fastest box jump, but there's definitely room for improvement. But I definitely think that staying crouched and knees bent on the top is the way to go. I'm on the right track to doing it in the most efficient fashion, because that is definitely not what I was doing on my first race. Here I am almost slipping on the mat. That was a little scary, but maybe I got my adrenaline going a little bit. Yeah, so on the rule book here, you just have to get the medicine ball in between your feet pretty much. Nothing really to say here. I mean, I think I can always go faster. This one actually burns my arms more than anything here. If you want to note the guy with the cowboy hat, so he's who always runs the races, at least in Texas where I've been. This was the first time he's wearing the cowboy hat, but it was a nice little touch since we were in Mesquite. He did say he was going to be at the Deca Fit that I'm going to do in Florida. He said he would give me a shout out, so we'll see. Again, on the ski erg, I did notice that the damper was lower than I've normally been doing it, so I would like to have it probably at an 8, and I believe it was at a 6. I'm happy with my form here. I do want to play with the damper speeds and see which one I think is the most efficient. I definitely want to make a whole video on me testing that. But for now, I'm happy with my form. I'm happy with my pace here. Farmer's carry. Okay, so farmer's carry is one of my lowest hanging fruits on where I can improve from my first race. And this was actually my best farmer's carry. I was so proud because my grip strength is crap, as I told you in my weaknesses in the intro video. But I'm still working on it, and you can see at the end how my grip just really declines and I'm barely holding on, and the dumbbells are, you know, tipped over diagonally. I only had to put the dumbbells down once during this go round, which is a record for me. I did actually make a realization during this race, which is always a piece of gold, right? I was noticing that the bouncing of the dumbbells on my thighs was actually, you know, doing some extra work on my grip. I was having to do extra work to control the dumbbells and make sure they weren't, you know, going crazy. So I realized that if I keep it really close and tight to my thighs, then there's less bouncing around, and it made it easier for me. So I was actually able to do, you have to do 5 down and backs to do 100 meters here, and I did 3 down and backs, then I did have to set them down, and then I did my last 2. The goal, of course, is to never have to set them down. That is definitely a me issue, and I'm working towards it, but this was the first time, because normally I have to do 2 down and backs, and then I'm basically setting it down between each one. So very happy with this improvement. Here's the end of my laps. Again, like I would say that my pace was fairly consistent. Again, this was a little annoying because I didn't get to walk the course beforehand, so I couldn't set the seat, and then I didn't know how to work this one because at my F45 studios we don't use assault bikes. So that's one thing to practice, but again, I wish we could set them before, but I understand why we can't. It's just not enough time. There's a lot of people going, but every second counts. This is just, man, the dreaded station. It's just so awful. Like, my arms are always completely burnt out because you do the weighted sit-ups, which burn my arms, then you go straight into the skier, then you go straight into the farmer's carry, and so my arms are spent, and I feel like your arms are really what drives the calories here, and you have to get 25 calories, right? It's just so tough. One of my favorite moments happened right here. So one of my F45 members was filming me, and she told me to smile through it.
Give me a smile, Lizzie. Come on, you got this, girl. Smile through it.
That was just a very important learning because, you know, I'm the coach, and I should be, you know, knowing these things and telling other people to do this, but she told me, and it was just like a yes, you're so right, and yeah, just smiling can help you. And I always do that like really weird cringe face on the bike. But I feel like this moment is something that I'll remember every single time I'm on the assault bike in one of these competitions, so that was just a really nice takeaway. Then we had the over the shoulder dead ball throws. So again, this is not the most efficient way to do it. The most efficient way to do it is probably to throw it over your shoulder and then just move your foot over it, which I'll go over in another video, because if you can't visualize what I'm saying, like I can realize how it's confusing, but probably like turning around and doing it is not the move. But at this current time, with me being so weak on the assault bike, I just tend to use this kind of as a breather, and I was only throwing it over my right. I wasn't alternating as well, just because my right is just stronger, and you know, if I was doing this for a workout, I would be alternating, but for time's sake, I was just throwing it over my right. You can see that my pace is definitely a little slower there. I think this was the longest breath I took, and then I will say it looks like I'm a turtle here, but I did notice that there were some movements where I could kind of jog with the sled. I'm not sure if I got it on film, but I do think that my sled time was faster as well than it has been in the past. Again, I know you're like, really? But for me, yeah. I think for sure on the push and the pull, one thing that I need to do is work on getting lower and using more of my lower body power, because you can see I'm just sort of pulling it with my upper body and my back, which isn't the move. And finally, we have the 20 weighted burpees. These, honestly, I can kind of power out. I mean, I could always get faster, but you know, I was happy with the situation here. At one point, another F45 member came, and you can see my little smile to tell her hello. I don't know where that energy came from, but yeah, it was nice to be done. Overall, it was a great experience. My next event that I have coming up is a Deca Fit, and it's in Florida, so I will be flying and taking you along with me there. It'll be September 7th, and that will be my first Deca Fit. And again, I think I am still gonna go the approach of more pacing myself, not going too extremely hard, because I have, you know, just really begun my running training, and I think the point of these for me right now is not to go like super hard. I think it is really just to get the jitters out, tell myself that I can, like if worse comes to worse, I can and I will finish, and I don't have to walk and I don't have to struggle. Like I can easily finish so that on race day, I can and I will push myself, because I have had all these examples of like, you've been okay. You've lived, you've finished, you've excelled, so now you can push. All right.